Invasive Mason Park frogs. Number two, African clawed frogs. Number 1 was on the American bullfrogs at the park. Before I leave this slide, let me show you a slow motion view of one clawed frog behavior I observed at Mason Park, with more to come later. Let's start that going. Pretty unique, right? Mason Regional Park, located in Irvine, Orange County, California, is home to a population of African clawed frogs. I'll abbreviate that as ACFs. This video discusses their history, status in California, aspects of their life history, including their half-jumping out-of-water behavior that you just saw in slow motion, and the eating of one ACF by a night heron. Viewer discretion advised. Here's a map you can download from the internet showing the main features of the park, including the 9-acre lake. North American origins. These facts are mainly from the 2 references at the bottom of the slide. All the references cited in this video are included in the show notes. They're native to sub-Saharan Africa. So how do they get here? They're used in laboratory research. They are introduced by pet and aquarium trade, possibly from use in science classes. Once used for human pregnancy testing in the 1940s. First observed in California, 1965. And this is from the Newport Bay Organization, a very good write-up about the AFC. The ACF, actually ACF, I'm going to mix up those letters, African clawed frog, was first brought to the U.S. in the 1940s for use in pregnancy testing. Female frogs would be injected with a woman's urine. If the frog released eggs 2 or 3 days later, this would signify that the woman was pregnant. If the frog did not release eggs, then the woman was not pregnant. These frogs were no longer needed once the pharmaceutical companies had synthesized the chemicals for these tests. They are an invasive species. Invasive species are non-native plants, animals, or pathogens that thrive in new environments, causing significant environmental, economic, or human health harm. Unlike merely non-native species, invasives disrupt ecosystems by outcompeting native wildlife, reducing biodiversity, and destroying habitats. There are a number of invasive species in Mason Lake. The ACF is highly adaptable to diverse environmental conditions and habitats. It reproduces so rapidly that it can double the population and range within 10 years. Similar to bullfrogs, the ACF will eat anything that fits into its mouth, including other frogs, fish, birds, mammals, and snails. It will also eat small turtles. ACFs have voracious appetites and will eat anything they can catch, whether dead or alive, including aquatic invertebrates, frogs, fish, and birds, as well as their own tadpoles and recent metamorphs. ACFs prey upon and outcompete native frogs and other aquatic species. In addition, they serve as a vector for parasites and diseases that can be transmitted to native frogs. African clawed frogs are on California's restricted animals list and cannot be imported, transported, or possessed without a permit. And here's a free information website from the Department of Fish and Wildlife in California. And that'll be in your show notes. As well as another good reference guide to Amphibians and Reptiles of California website with a section devoted to African clawed frogs. And then finally another page on the frog on the USGS website. So I'm giving you a bunch of homework to do. Characteristics. ACFs can grow larger than an average adult fist. That's an adult human fist. Do not have eyelids, a tongue, or vocal sacs. Have olive to brown skin, often with blotches or spots. Have unwebbed front feet and fully webbed back feet. And some more from California's website. Have back feet armed with sharp black claws on the 3 innermost toes. Have eyes on top of their head turned upward with no lids. Have tadpoles that tend to swim upside down and that look similar to a small catfish with barbels extending from each chin side. And their habitat. ACFs occur in a wide variety of both natural and man-made habitats, such as lakes, ponds, streams, wetlands, and canals. They prefer stagnant waters of ponds and slow streams, but are also found in fast-moving waters. Although a water-dependent species, ACFs have the ability to migrate across land in search of new habitat and are capable of estivation during dry and drought periods. Large numbers are found in natural creeks in Orange County, as well as drainage ditches, flood control channels, and golf course ponds throughout the county. Previous sightings at Mason Lake, are there any? There are no iNaturalist ACF records for Mason Park. You can look up what iNaturalist is, a very useful website. And the only online reference I could find for ACFs at the lake was from a fishing website in 2010, where one poster indicated, "I think they restocked it," the lake, "like 6 years ago after the die-off with channel cats, 'cause I caught one, also caught a African clawed frog." So if perhaps this refers to 2004. So they've been around Mason Lake, even though people have not been recording them. Because they spend most of their lives in the water, their presence may not be obvious to the people who use the area. Feeding behavior. A very formidable predator finds prey by scent and uses its toothed jaws to hold the prey while shredding it with its rear claws and pushing it into the mouth with its forearms. This allows a frog to eat prey that is too large to swallow whole and to scavenge. Also, the frogs use olfaction and a lateral line system to detect waterborne scents and the pressure movements in the water of aquatic prey, and thus they do well in murky waters, which the Mason Lake has murky waters, where they can just wait for their prey to come by. So I want to show you predation by black-crowned night heron on June 18, 2026. This section contains graphic images. A warning. On June 18th, I walked by the lake's rocky edge, where a juvenile black-crowned night heron was farther out on a mostly submerged rock. So it was in deeper water. The water is no deeper than 4 to less than 5 feet in Mason Lake. So that's a black-crowned night heron. When I returned to that spot 5 to 10 minutes later, I saw the night heron had a clawed frog in its bill. I took a series of still pictures for about 9 minutes and then switched to video mode for over 8.5 minutes. During that 17 plus minutes, the night heron kept dipping the frog in the water 56 times alone on the video and manipulating the frog in its bill. And here is actually this is a frame from the movie. This is an anti-predator strategy by the frog in the picture, although it doesn't look like it's winning. This probably extended the handling time by the night heron. Guess what is this anti-predator strategy? And I quote from the Newport Bay essay. Harassed frogs secrete an extremely slippery and irritating mucus from their skin glands that deter many potential mammalian and aquatic predators. Telling you and then showing you about the mucus effect is a rare opportunity. So next is the 39-second part of my 8.5-minute video that illustrates the slippery condition of the ACF. You can skip this if you're a little bit squeamish. You may hear a red-shouldered hawk in the background. This was taken with a zoom camera. Eventually, the night heron maneuvered its prey so it could be swallowed head first, as this frame shows. So, the white on both sides of the heron's bill comes from the mucus secretions of the frog. Does that happen regardless of what prey? Well, on July 4th, 2026, probably the same juvenile night heron captured a fish close to where the frog was taken. The fish handling was already happening when I found the predation in progress. I was some distance from the action and started filming. It only took 2 minutes to swallow the fish, at least that's the night heron, not me, and only 2 bill dips in the lake water. And so the angle was a little bit awkward here, but I'll blow this up. You can see there's no mucus buildup on the bill of this night heron. During the summer of 2025, I saw predation on adult frogs at Mason Lake, but I attributed the frog species to American bullfrogs. Given the finding of AFC at Mason last May, I reanalyzed the early material and have changed the prey identifications to African clawed frogs, not the AFC, but ACF. I knew I would do that. Those predators include an adult black-crowned night heron on July 26th, a double-crested cormorant on June 15th, and an American white pelican on August 17th. The adult night heron flew off with the AFC, or the ACF, African clawed frog. The cormorant, after 12 minutes handling the frog, 12 minutes, apparently swallowed it. The pelican flock passed around the frog, but I didn't see if it was actually swallowed. So let's talk about this half jumping from the water behavior. I noticed in May 2026 that there were frogs disturbing the surface of Mason Lake in 2 areas by half jumping above the water surface and then immediately falling back into the water. Only the head, front legs, and much of the body were above the water surface. The back legs were not visible. And here's a aerial photo of the park. Here's where I saw half-jumping frogs, and this is Mason Lake. I first noticed this behavior on May 20th at X1. A few days later, I walked the perimeter of the lake and found at X2 another area of surface activity. The behavior could be seen on most but not all mornings. Finally, on June 16, 2026, I saw jumping surface activity at location Y. One has to have patience, actually, to see this. Over the course of my observations May to early July, frog surface activity decreased in location X1, but remained high in X2. I checked the sites on July 5th, that was yesterday, around 8:30 a.m., yielded No jump is in X1, but an active group in X2. I have over 62 minutes of video from 8 days and at least 64 recorded examples of this jumping behavior. So it's not not one only. There are multiple recordings. So let's look at a couple of the examples. And this is one that I used actually for the introduction, the first slide. This is going to be in real time what the surfacing looks like. Don't blink or you will miss the two on this segment. They are towards the top. The area is about 20 feet from the lake edge and water depths are probably 3 to 4 feet. Never directly in the shallow edge of the lake. Up, there's one. Now look out to the upper right. Don't blink. Up, that was the one that I emphasized on the first slide. Here's the half jumper from the right of the previous video in 1/16th time. 1/16th time. I've zoomed into the area. You try and ask AI to identify that image, the image of this frog jumping, and you get all sorts of strange answers. That's a frame from the video. Here are two more surface events close together at 1/16th speed. The surfacing appears to be random in the area and not synchronous. It was a cloudy morning. And there will be another one to the right. And finally, the highest jump I filmed at Mason Lake. I'm going to do this first at original speed. It takes about 1/3 of a second from start to finish to conclude the jump. Here we go. Got that? And then the June 30th individual at 1/16th of a second, I'm going to zoom this in. Basically, I'm cropping the video. Side view. ACFs in an aquarium are reported to sometimes jump out of their tank, presumably to escape crowding, poor water quality, predators, or antagonists. But the Mason Lakes ACFs are jumping to gulp air. So a word about the photography. All my photos and videos were captured using either a Nikon B700 or a Nikon P950 super zoom camera. The subjects were not disturbed or artificially attracted to my position. I didn't give that frog to the juvenile heron to eat. I handheld the camera for most of the photo shoots. The media has only been edited for some cropping or zooming and adjustments to contrast and brightness. Some video sequences were slowed down. And I do want to acknowledge, thanks to Dr. Greg Pulley for his help with this frog species. Now, remember, YouTube video number 19 shows information about Mason's adult bullfrogs. That was number 1. This is 19. The two frog species must have an interesting food dynamic between their populations. This has been another of my JDW talks. Come join my channel. I have over 1,000 subscribers. I have YouTube talks on genealogy topics, census, Ellis Island immigration and naturalization that I'm well known for. I'm kind of retired from that now. And then have talks on natural history topics, virtual birding field trips, birding optics, California birds, and Mason Park nature notes. and then some miscellaneous YouTube videos. So I hope you enjoyed that. When you go out to Mason Park, you might be able to see some of these invasive species, and now you know a lot more about them and what you're looking at. Bye-bye.